Hello and welcome to the Just Interesting podcast, where nothing is fascinating, nothing is boring, everything is just interesting. With me, Robin, today are Alex.
Oh, hello. Hi there,
Hello,
Robin.
Alex.
How's it going?
Yeah, you all right?
Yeah. Did you forget my name then? You're like,
No, I was trying to
Alex?
do the Alex, but then I
okay.
couldn't be bothered to follow through,
Oh.
so, you know.
Yeah. How long have we been doing this now, Robin?
A long time. It's the 17th episode.
Too long. I'm getting too old for this shit.
And that was the lovely voice of Martin. How are you, Martin?
Yeah, very well, as well as we can be. You know, I'm not suffering. Just being indoors, being in the garden, pittering around. No, pottering around.
You got a garden?
Pissing around, pottering around. Yeah, I know, right? And purely rented, so I'm not that lucky.
You've been pissing around
And
your garden.
I've been pissing in my garden for days. No, although splish splosh, I've got a paddling pool for a little one, so
Oh, yeah, that was...
been playing with a bit of water.
It's still inflated. Is it still holding the water?
I mean, in the morning I go out there and it's deflated a bit from the day before, so I think there's probably some kind of leak somewhere. But that's boring. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Happy to be here. Happy to have our weekly lockdown boredom breaking session.
Yeah. I'm getting used to all these video chats and quizzes with people, and yeah, this is just like any other chat for me, really.
Oh, really? It's not at all special, Alex. Just another one.
Just
another
another
mark
one.
on your bedpost. Another notch.
I'm doing 5 other podcasts behind your back.
One every day
no.
of the week.
But it's been so long. Like we had that whole brick wall backdrop specially built.
You got that specially for the podcast.
And I haven't seen your lovely faces in person in months.
Yeah, no.
I know. We built that brick wall all together.
I know.
As a team.
Out of fabric.
Yeah.
Through the sweat, tears, blood and bones of our enemies.
Yes.
Who are few in number,
mixed
and even
into
fewer now that we built that wall.
Yeah, mixed into the cement.
Yeah, that's how we hide the
That's
bodies.
how to hide them.
Well, a quick preview of what this episode is going to contain. We'll be talking about President Donald Trump's moves against social media and the general question of whether or not social media should be regulated and, for lack of a better word, censored. So that'll be the hot topic for discussion later. After that, I'll be hosting a quiz. We'll see if Alex or Martin can wrestle our way out of second place tie. But before all that, we'll be getting on to the weird news of this week. And before all that, we'll be talking about things we learned. But before all that, Alex, I want to know, have you had a haircut?
I did, actually. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah.
I
It looks good.
did
Looks
this
good.
myself.
No way.
With some scissors and a trim on the sides. Yeah.
You've done a good job.
Yeah, I know that
Just
Martin,
don't turn round.
I know that Martin does this fairly regularly, so I took his advice and just went for it.
No, your hair's looking really
Yes.
good, Martin, as well. Now it's coming back. It's great.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, you looked good
That's,
before, but I'm just
okay.
saying you look really good now.
Oh, well, I put the headphones on especially to hide any mistakes.
I'm just letting my hair grow. We'll see what happens.
I want some like long shoulder length Robin hair. You know, I want to see you in a L'Oreal advert by the time
That's
that
not
this
what
is
it
all
does.
this is all over.
Mine just
And you
becomes a
can't-
helmet. It can deflect bullets. Be useful when the apocalypse comes.
And you're trying to cast as Thor, aren't you, for the upcoming Marvel movie?
I am. I want to play Jane Foster as Thor. That's my goal. Anyway, what have you guys learned this week?
So I go first. I've learned of a dolphin, a particular dolphin. Have you ever heard of Pelorus Jack?
No.
So this was a dolphin.
No.
This was a dolphin, a particularly amazing dolphin, who at the early 20th century, around 1900, was guiding ships through a notoriously dangerous channel in New Zealand.
No way.
So he would ride up alongside ships and guide ships through a stretch of water in Cook Strait, which is kind of known for causing shipwrecks and I think it's quite rocky, and lots of ships go missing around there.
Oh dear.
For decades, it did this.
How long do dolphins live?
That is incredible.
I'm not sure, but this dolphin was known to do this between 1888 and 1912. Was the last recorded sighting.
That's 24 years.
That's a full career, that is.
Yeah. But what's really interesting about this story is one ship in 2005, in 1904, the ship, the SS Penguin was the ship's name. It wasn't just a rogue penguin. Tried to shoot the dolphin, Jack, with a rifle. And now, thankfully, the dolphin Jack survived and continued to guide all the other ships through this strait, but refused to guide this particular ship. It wouldn't go near it.
Fair enough.
And then, in some kind of karmic justice, this ship in 1909 sank in this particular strait and killed nearly everyone on board.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is don't piss off dolphins, basically, is the moral of the story.
I knew dolphins were smart, but I'm amazed that they have a memory like that.
Yeah.
They're able to recognize ships in that way. And I mean, this is a great lesson for working together and helping your neighbors, even if they're strangers. And an even better lesson, don't try to kill someone who's trying to help you.
How did they know it was the same dolphin each time?
So it's got particular markings, like it has a very white head, and there's pictures of it from multiple different occasions, so you can kind of tell that it is the exact same one. And that's what's interesting about this story, because it's kind of like, it feels like a very sure that happened urban legendy story, but there's quite a lot of actual verified accounts of this particular dolphin helping ships through the strait. They're so smart, aren't they? You can imagine
he might have like a dickhead twin brother that's just pretending to be him and just guiding all the ships into the rocks.
Well, we'll never know because they sank. Yeah.
Well, they
sank and they look the same.
Yeah. Maybe it didn't actually. Maybe it did. Pretend to help this SS Penguin in 1904, but actually. Or in 1909, but actually just led it to its death. Led them all to their deaths.
Yeah. If dolphins were really that clever, he'd do that. That's not so smart now.
Now that you've told me the story, I fully expect it to become an animated movie. Maybe a TV movie, maybe a Disney movie.
Live action Disney movie in the vein of Air Bud. Those old Air Bud films. It's technically not against the rules for a dog to play basketball.
I think the issue would be that after the first ship gets safely, escorted, I mean, it's just the same thing, isn't it, over and over again?
Yeah, but thanks to the SS Penguin, we've got some dramatic tension.
Yeah, short film, I think.
His family, for a Disney he's from a family of dolphins who's suspicious of humans, and they say, don't go near the humans, they're bad. Let them sink and die. And then he's like, it's like Tarzan, basically. This is Tarzan. No, they've done I've seen this movie.
It's got to be called Son of Jack, though, because it'd be like, Jack, your father, in historical inaccuracy, but it'd be, Jack, your father did this, but he got shot. And so it's like the beginning of the film's the father getting shot and then it's, so we don't trust them anymore. And then by the end, they have to be trusted. The dolphin does trust the humans and then brings the other dolphins around to his way of thinking.
Yeah.
No, you're right. This has more legs than I thought.
Can we trademark this? Can we copyright this pitch in some way?
Stamped.
Head over to our Patreon where we'll be doing a separate Kickstarter for this movie.
I mean, you're mixing up platforms there, but
the script has already written itself, pretty much.
You don't need dialogue. It's like a nature documentary. Anyway, Martin, what did you learn this week?
So I learnt a little bit about the Navajo people. So Native American tribes in the US, and they have a particular celebration that's really quite joyful, and which was a bit of good news in this dark and despairing time. So Navajo people, they have this tradition where they celebrate their baby's first laugh. I know a lot of parents, when their baby first walks or crawls or laughs, it's quite a great thing.
Yeah.
But they put a lot of emphasis on this, and the family member or friend who makes the baby laugh for the first time is then in charge of having of setting up like a party for them, and so they have an actual proper celebration for when their baby first laughs. And the idea is that when the baby laughs, there's like a crossover between the spirit world, and then they're moving into like our human world, and so it's almost like a celebration of that, which I thought was pretty nice thing.
That's really nice.
I'd never heard of that.
Yeah.
So it's seen as like just a very human response, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Laughing. Oh, that is really nice.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, technically, the baby is supposed to host the party, but for logistical reasons, that can be a little bit difficult.
You can laugh now. Throw a party. What's your party planning skills like?
Old enough to laugh. You're old enough to drive to Durham.
Yeah.
For more on that, check out our Patreon exclusive podcast, which you can watch for just $1 a month if you want to support us. And more on that topic, thank you to all of our Patreon supporters for keeping us going, especially during these hard times. We know it's a lot for you to support us, and we really appreciate it. So thank you.
Yeah, and we've created some new goals, haven't we? I'm not sure if we mentioned this before, but they include potentially bringing back a strand from an old channel that we used to work on that shall not be named. So if you're interested in just seeing what that might be, then head on over and have a look.
Yeah. And just to round things off, this week I learned a very short news item which brought a smile to my face, which was a man in Thailand has been accused of stealing his neighbour's flip-flops in order to have sex with them.
A flip-flop?
A flip-flop, yeah. So apparently this man, who's 24, has a fetish for flip-flops and has stolen 126 pairs from his neighbours.
Okay.
126 pairs.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was obviously going to go for more as well. That's just where he got caught. You wouldn't stop at 126. You know.
I mean, you've got to stop buying flip-flops, haven't you? You've got to take some of that responsibility.
Yeah, when it gets that bad.
Just stop it. Like, yes, report this guy. He's obviously a nutter, and I'd be worried about other things. But just for a little bit, just stop leaving your flip-flops lying around. Have a cabinet, put them in there.
Wear them. Just wear them.
They need a neighbourhood watch for their flip-flops going missing. This is
Yeah. Apparently, he told police that he would wear the flip-flops, cuddle and kiss them, rub them on his naked body, and then have sex with them.
So a flip-flop?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, there's only one way I can imagine that working, and I wish I hadn't. So.
Oh, God. Oh, dear. Where was this again?
Thailand.
So that's off the list of places to visit. A huge generalisation. Actually, Thailand, I've heard good things.
You can't save it after that, Martin. You can't
just.
Was there any particular style of flip-flop? Does it specify? Just so we can narrow this down.
So you can pick the right flip-flops to take with you when you go to Thailand. No, there was no specific type mentioned. Maybe there was. Maybe it was just flip-flops in general. Maybe he likes the see-through plastic ones.
I mean, I'd have to question whether this neighbour is breaking into the house or something, because you can't be leaving 100 after the 104th theft. You're not going to leave them outside, are you? Him to pick up off your porch.
You'd hope not. Yeah. Well, I wonder if it was a bit of like social deduction. Like the street is like, who's stealing all the flip-flops? And everyone's like, him. Pretty sure he'd steal flip-flops.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, but why?
They left a big, those like rabbit snares in forests. It was like a big box with like a stick under it holding it up. And they just put like a pair of flip-flops underneath and just recorded the whole thing. He went under, got the flip-flops, was doing his thing, and then they caught him. That's how I imagine this unfolded.
I'm thinking that he's stealing these naked for some reason. You know, he's going round past people's fences in the nude, just out of the thrill.
Extra layer of work on that, because you can't be opportunistic then. True. I like the image though.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Stealing the flip-flops is part of the fetish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think that segues us nicely into the weird news of this week.
That wasn't the weird news.
I realised that was my weird news. Just realised I skipped what I learned. What weird news did you learn? Let's combine the two.
Fair enough. Well, I wanted to talk about I guess it's a bit of weird news, but this week is a historic achievement, I guess, for space and space travel. Because we've got SpaceX attempting to launch astronauts into space to the ISS for the first time since, I think, 2011 or 2009, which was the last shuttle launch on American soil.
Oh, no, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
American soil, yeah.
And when this podcast goes up, they may have actually already done it. And hopefully, if they have, it's all gone according to plan and all gone well.
Yes.
The launch the other day, I think it was yesterday, was scrubbed due to bad weather. But everything was set up, and I think it was 15 minutes from countdown, and the launch was cancelled. And this has led to a lot of conspiracy theories cropping up online.
Oh, yeah.
About why this was. Now, the official story is that it was just bad weather, and this kind of happens quite frequently with space travel. But a lot of people took to Twitter to call this a fake launch and said that the reason why this delay happened was because the launch was fake.
Could have Elon Musk been pushing that stock price back up?
Oh, maybe. I mean, this was that was another theory actually that they got. Basically, countless free ad revenue from doing this, because they all the news broadcasts in America were showing this live for over 5 hours. With SpaceX's logo dotted everywhere on everything, right. With promo videos and everything. Loads of advertising. But that doesn't take into consideration how expensive, I guess, this is to set up on the day.
That's the thing, yeah. That advertising for one day.
SpaceX gets paid tons by NASA.
Yeah.
Tons.
Yeah. It's interesting, actually, because they're a private company, we don't actually know how much necessarily they're getting paid. But we do know that NASA's saving a lot of money by going through them, I think, as opposed to launching on the typical Soyuz rocket over in Russia. But yeah, one person's tweeted saying that they were having issues with the green screen this time, hence why they postponed the launch. I've watched the live feed for 5 hours and they didn't launch. Clearly they were trying to find a way to fake it, just like they did the moon landing. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because the moon landing's different. This is a private company. What's the incentive, I guess, to fake this? Surely they'd be getting paid to do this. And do you know what I mean? They're live streaming the whole thing, and I don't understand.
It doesn't exactly make you look great, does it? A failed launch, or I mean, it's to do with weather, right? So not failed, but postponed. I mean, it just seems like a bit of a disappointment, and I know people say that any press is good press, but it's just a bit of nothing, isn't it? That's just disappointing.
Yeah.
Unless there was a reason at the last minute why it had to be cancelled, and that's some kind of conspiracy. Aliens
got in touch and said, "Don't bother, not today.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Elon Musk had a last minute change of heart and was like, "Oh, actually, I can sink this body in the ocean."
Yeah.
Don't need to send it into space.
Yeah. Someone else said that they're wearing fake ass Walmart costumes.
I was about to ask, what do you think of the space
fake ass Walmart costumes?
Yeah. Well, I was going to broaden it out to it's interesting. This is kind of the first attempt of commercial like a commercial entity fully taking over the like low Earth orbit space travel, and they've clearly like put a lot of design work into the aesthetics, not just with the outfits, but the crew interior and the ship design and everything, even down to the
sci-fi,
even down to the walkway that the astronauts walk onto the ship. Is this sleek, elegant glass design.
I've just seen this. I hadn't seen this before, these outfits.
Yeah.
But it is science fiction, right? Somebody watched Interstellar and some Star Trek episodes and was like,
what I was going to say, Robin, is someone watched Austin Powers.
Yes, yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because they were actually part designed by the person who designed like the Avengers outfits, like the movie
Really?
It was a movie costume designer who worked with scientists to make them. So it's clearly like they want them to look cool as well as being
part
functional.
of the brand, right?
But do they look cool in your opinion?
No, they're kind of like beekeepers with the wrong headwear on.
Yeah, there's something not quite right with them.
Yeah,
I'll definitely agree.
It doesn't really matter, does it? But yeah, when it's quite strikingly, they look a bit awkward. I don't know whether that's the astronauts themselves posing, because the astronauts are not
action
not
heroes,
conventional celebrities, right?
Yeah,
but they just look a bit kind of like lemons.
Here's a question: can they turn their heads?
Is it the old Batman problem?
It doesn't look like they can. I think they're like going to have to do the Batman turn.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, I know astronauts weren't exactly the most mobile thing before, but at least they had those big 180-degree view visors, you know.
Yeah,
and they can turn their heads within the helmet, right?
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, these aren't for like spacewalks or anything. This is just traveling to and from the ISS. They can be pressurized, but I don't think. I think that's pretty much it.
This is what happens. This is the wonderful thing about privatized industry. So much of the profits get wasted on years of design work and aesthetics. Because the user experience is going to be so much improved.
Yeah. I mean, that was my question. What do you think about the like apparent privatization, or NASA working more with commercial things with space travel?
I mean, I think it's sad that NASA has had to rely on private companies for so long now, but this is what happens when the government defunds it. However, it's inevitable, right? If we are ever going to properly explore the universe, it's going to be privatized. It's the only way it would work. So it's kind of exciting that we've already reached that point where you've got private companies, and companies plural, because you've got Boeing, you've got Virgin Galactic, although they're not the same as SpaceX. And you've got that other private company that's almost as big as SpaceX. I can't remember the American one.
Blue Origin's also doing things as well.
Yeah, is that the one? Yeah,
Jeff Bezos's.
Yeah, that's right. There's them,
thing.
And I think there's another one that we made a video about. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I think it's kind of exciting.
Indeed.
But that was my news story. I thought I'd bring up this week. How about you, Martin?
It's fascinating.
Well, mine's a little bit darker, really.
Okay.
So my news story is about three young boys, who decided to get spider bites purposefully, because they wanted to turn into Spider-Man.
Oh no!
Yeah. So these three boys, Bolivian boys, aged 12, 10, and 8. They're from like a herding community in Bolivia, up in the mountains, and of course they thought that having a spider bite from a black widow would give them superpowers.
Oh no!
Yeah.
What was the superpower it gave them?
Well, a hospital visit. Luckily, they all survived.
Oh really?
And they're okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So they were poking this black widow with a stick until it bit all three of them. I mean, I think once it bit one of them, you'd probably think, okay, that looks pretty painful. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I should probably get medical attention. But no, they all bit all three of them. And luckily, the boys' mum found them, took them to hospital, or took them to some medical assistance, got transferred to hospital, and were okay. But of course, they had fever, they had pain, and all the things associated with a really dangerous black widow bite. So yeah, they're okay, but it just shows like the influence of media. You've got to be pretty careful, haven't you? Kind of the combination of lack of understanding and maybe some peer pressure as well. I mean, it's dangerous stuff.
I mean, I think we should ban all comic books. This is clearly time.
That's the rational response to this.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one to respond to because on the one hand, I have deepest sympathies for the families and the pain they went through, but at the same time, they brought it on themselves. And I know that teenage boys or prepubescent boys and young children will do stupid things, but that is profoundly stupid. So I don't have huge sympathy for them.
What it made me think though is, I mean, this is completely unrelated, but in Spider-Man, is it a Black Widow that bites him?
No, it's like some weird super spider, isn't it? They're in some amazing super spider place.
Sometimes, like in the Sam Raimi film from 2002, it is akin to a Black Widow. It's got like a red mark on its...
Because I thought it looked like it in that film, the Tobey Maguire one, right?
Like dark with a red mark or something. So this kind of... not dissimilar. So I can understand why they'd make the mistake.
You think that these children, that their parents... and just the fact that they're living up in a place with Black Widows, they would have been told, do not go near them, let alone poke them and let them bite you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing as well. I don't know much about Black Widows at all, so I'm surprised that 12-year-old boys can survive being bitten by one. But I'm also...
apparently it's 15 times more venomous than a rattlesnake, Black Widows.
Wow.
So I imagine that they were lucky because they got medical attention very quickly.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is, I mean, also, I think that a lot of places where there are Black Widows or venomous spiders and snakes and the rest of it, the infrastructure and medical services are in place to kind of cater with that because they know that it could be an eventuality.
What to do,
if it happened over here.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be slightly unlucky to get bitten by a Black Widow in the UK.
Yes.
But yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I think if that was me, I would have been like, okay, you do it, and I'll just, if you turn into Spider-Man, let me know, and I might consider it, but I'm good at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, one of them got bitten by a spider. The other one has his parents shot and falls down a hole and
becomes a billionaire.
And who else? What origin story do you think is the coolest out of the superheroes? Because Batman's is a bit like, your parents got killed and then you got a whole load of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he did more than that.
He went and trained and stuff. I don't know, what other ones are there? Hit me with some.
Superman, the last survivor of a planet destroyed by its own pride.
Yes. Iron Man.
Sure.
Iron Man got captured.
Oh yeah, the start of the Iron Man film was good when he builds that really rugged Iron Man suit and escapes. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, he's got a great character arc, in fact, hasn't he?
If any 12-year-old kid wants to do that, go for it.
Yeah, Captain America's. I mean, we're gonna have to come up with that serum, but
I don't like. That going. I'm not a big fan of Captain America's origin story because it is so American. Drugs can make you strong, you know. I know it's more than that. It makes him who he is inside, but I'm pretty sure that's a later addition, and the original Captain America is literally just
steroids, basically.
Yeah, steroids. So I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, Hulk is kind of cool. You know, I like the whole can't control his anger thing.
Yeah.
Well, we'll move on to our topic of the week, but before we do, just want to say a big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters for continuing to keep this channel going with all of your lovely support, and as well as checking out our Patreon exclusive podcast, which should be live now actually, on the channel, which is accessible to all tiers. We've got stretch goals, that's Kickstarter, isn't it? We've got goals. And we also have an exclusive Discord, which we like to pop on and chat to all our Patreon supporters, who are wonderful people. It's great to talk to you, and we'll do an actual live chat soon as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we definitely need to do another one of those.
We do.
That's really great.
It's just
I think it'd be
difficult
quite cool,
to coordinate, isn't it?
What do you guys think about potentially doing a live chat after our video goes live, so we can be like, check out the live chat over on Discord now. It'd be quite a fun thing to do.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we should do that.
We can sort that out. Yeah,
we'll sort that out. So it might exist if you become a patron. So there you go.
Yeah, Alex can edit that out if he wants. But let's go on to discussing our hot topic of the week, which is: should social media be regulated or even censored?
Should it? That is the question.
So this question is very relevant and very kind of breaking news, because it was brought to our attention by the fact that Donald Trump announced his intention to sign an executive order, which he's done, to limit social media's, freedom of speech, really. It's the only way to express it. Triggered by the fact that last weekend Donald Trump sent out some tweets which Twitter then attached some fact-checking links to as part of their recent policy to crack down on fake news and misinformation, by attaching, and I think it's through automated systems, isn't it? Fact-checking links.
They do have this automated system. I'm not sure if this was an automated thing on Trump's tweet, or if someone had put it there just because it was particularly, seen as misleading. I think he was talking about either mail-in voting. Yes. Which he's kind of, that's
he was claiming that
an issue for him. Like mail-in voting for elections, he thinks could be rife with election fraud. So I think there was an article that was attached to it, basically saying that this is unfounded. There's no problem with this.
Yeah. In fact, election fraud in general really isn't that big a problem, and all the forms of voter fraud that the American government seems to be particularly concerned about are actually the least concerning forms of voter fraud. It's all about having voter IDs, and of course, in Trump's case, being concerned with mail-in voting. But this raises lots of questions about the role of social media's influence in controlling information. And of course, information can be wrong and false, but doesn't necessarily have to have been spread maliciously. And there's all kinds of questions about freedom of speech of individuals on the social media platform. So what do you guys think?
Well, Twitter's a private company. If he doesn't like it, he can post his stuff elsewhere. I don't think this is a freedom of speech issue necessarily. He was asked in this conference just now if when he was signing this executive order, if he thinks Twitter is silencing conservative voices and is a problem for free speech, why does he not delete his account? And he responded with something about how if we had a fair media, a fair and balanced media, then he would. But it seems like the only way to get his opinion out there. But I don't know. It's a private company at the end of the day, and whether that private company should be regulated is another issue. But saying that this is a freedom of speech issue, I don't know if I buy that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What about you, Martin?
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying. I think at a very basic level, something like Twitter, there's an issue with not being able to justify yourself or say, your whole opinion in how many characters you have. So he could say that he believes that that there's issues with voter fraud, email fraud, but there's no link to more information. I think that's one of the main difficulties. There's a bit of an information vacuum across a lot of social media. People like to look at headlines without reading the whole of an article. They like to take excerpts of something without necessarily knowing the whole story. And I think that's a major issue with social media in general. So there are, of course, issues with misinformation, but there's also issues with selected information and where the whole story hasn't been told. Whether that's a problem with the person writing it, or whether that's actually a problem with the platform itself. It is a difficult one, but yeah, it's maybe a bit of an aside, but something to consider as well. Should there be regulation? I mean, that's the thing, right? And what's the line between regulation and censorship?
Yeah.
I mean, as you say, Alex, like Twitter, Facebook, they're private companies. They have no obligation to let anyone's viewpoints on the platform. They can basically do what they like, right?
Yeah.
They don't. There's no issue there. But at the same time, there is definitely issues with fake news. I mean, that has been the kind of a buzzword, hasn't it, for the last few years?
This is
especially surrounding elections.
Some of the irony of this particular situation. It's ironic that this executive order should arise from this circumstance, because these links to fact-checking, or these fact-checking links to other sources that Twitter is starting to put on posts, is a direct response to public and governmental calls for greater accountability and cracking down on fake news across social media companies. So it feels
so true,
I feel a bit sorry for Twitter, because they're actually doing what the government and what, in theory, the government's bosses, which is the American public, have been asking for. And yet they do it, and it just so happens that somebody who is one of the people who have asked for this kind of thing, although not necessarily directly, as the head of the government, the president has asked for them to crack down on fake news. He's got caught out, and so he's suddenly signing an executive order, which...
I mean, this kind...
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm saying this kind of thing will disproportionately affect people who have large followings, who reach a lot of people, because, of course, their presence is so visible. And I know you're saying that there may well be an automated system, but if there's any kind of manual review process, as we know from YouTube, it tends to be that those bigger channels are the ones who either get targeted or get reviewed sooner than others. So he may feel like he's been targeted because he's the president, whereas other people who have differing opinions to him, who maybe have a smaller following, or maybe have a following that does align more with the private company themselves. I don't necessarily know what the people at Twitter's personal political leanings are. I'd guess that they're probably more liberal, just off the top of my head, but I don't know that for sure. He feels like maybe he's being targeted, not necessarily unfairly, but at least he's those who argue against him aren't being targeted in the same way.
I mean, so yes, because I mean that kind of makes sense, though, doesn't it? That if someone is in a position of power and has that many voices, that they should kind of be held more accountable with what they say.
Yeah.
Like if they're saying misleading things and they're reaching millions and millions of people,
80 million followers, right?
And they also have the highest position in the land. That their words should, they should be careful with what they say. I mean, that should be on the onus of that person when you think about it, really.
Yeah.
But when he's saying things that are just not true, I mean, is it on the private company to regulate that and deal with that fake news? And the government's, like you say, the government's been advising companies to do this and crack down on fake news. So I think you're right. They're in a kind of lose-lose situation.
Because it's not just the American government, it's governments all around the world, including the UK government, that have demanded social media companies, because they operate internationally, do more to crack down on fake news. And then before that, and still today, it was terrorism and extremism. Even particularly when it comes to private messaging on Facebook and WhatsApp, there's lots of governmental calls to do something about that. But again, insisting that social media companies essentially self-regulate, or at least under our former Prime Minister, plans to force social media companies to share that kind of information with the government. And I think it was Apple, wasn't it, who successfully fought against the US government a couple of years ago on the grounds of freedom of speech, when the government asked for Apple to share user data with them on the grounds of defense against terrorism. So it's such... I feel sorry for the social media companies to a certain extent, because there they are in this impossible situation where they obviously don't want to be regulated. They don't want the government to impose upon them because they want to make money. That's their primary concern. And if that involves gathering data and selling data, then what the heck? But also, they need to attract people to their platform in order to charge the fees that they want to charge from advertisers in order to, and to gather that data as well, that they can sell on and use. So in order to be a successful business, they need freedom for their people, and they need freedom to operate the way they need to operate. But they also need to guarantee safety, and they need to appeal to the public. And when the public is saying you need to be regulated or need to regulate yourself, they need to introduce some regulations or seek regulation from the government. I think, was it Martin, you mentioned that Zuckerberg was asking for more regulation?
Yes, yeah. He was asking. Yeah, he was asking basically for that, and I think purely a fiscal reasoning, like to regulate the whole of Facebook's an almost impossible task. Plus, it puts the blame for stuff that falls through the net for damaging content or harmful content going out to people, whether that's terrorism or abuse or whatever. It puts that blame squarely on Facebook. So he's asked, okay, if you want to regulate, you have to help us with this. Which is interesting, because it's showing that he also believes that regulation is the way to go to stop harmful content. Of course, no one wants harmful content on their site, but wants the government working with them as opposed to against them.
Yeah.
Because in the long run, it means that they can have a say in what's actually regulated. So it's not curtailing freedom of speech, but at the same time, it's taking that burden off them, both fiscally and morally, to be regulating every piece of untoward content on their platforms.
It's a complex issue, and I think if you look around the world, there's an example of every form of regulation that you can implement. For example, one country that does regulate quite tightly its social media is China. They have a cyberspace administration, which is actually, I think, a really cool sounding name. But of course, and they use it, and they have official statistics about how many websites they close down and how many apps they clean up, numbering in the thousands, I think, for harmful content. But of course, what we know they're really doing is cracking down on political dissension. So that's a great example of the American fear, which is, freedom of speech is being curtailed and people are being controlled, and it's a form of brainwashing, essentially.
But that's and that's kind of like what this whole incident seems to strike me as. So, like, I mean, Trump's tweet was responding to Twitter marking his previous tweets with this kind of fact-checking, was Republicans feel that social media platforms totally silence conservative voices. We will strongly regulate or close them down before we can ever allow this to happen.
Well, that sounds like out-and-out censorship to me.
Yeah, well, it sounds like taking control of these companies to make sure they're regulating, and kind of, it sounds like he wants them to say what he wants people to hear, which sounds more like the Chinese way that they're operating their social media.
At the same time, you think about it from someone's point of view who genuinely believes that. What you don't want, like Twitter's set up as a platform, right, for people to post their content on them. What you don't want is for people to believe that that's their duty, but actually they're becoming the editorial on the platform, right? They're deciding what gets seen and what doesn't. I mean, they're perfectly within their legal rights to do so, in my opinion, because they're a private company. They can do what they like. Right. But from a user's point of view, if you're someone that genuinely believes that they're basically being biased towards your political affiliation and getting involved where they shouldn't, surely you've got a point there, regardless of whatever your political persuasion.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the argument that Facebook was making, right? That they were a platform as opposed to a producer, and so all the kind of fake news and stuff. I think their position's probably changed now. Well, it sounds like it has. But yeah, it was basically like we can't be responsible for all this stuff because it's people who are spreading this fake news, not us. We're just a platform. We're just, have no say in this.
I mean, yeah, part of you could say that that's them being responsible and allowing free speech. The other side is that they're absolving themselves from any responsibility, right? Because it's costly to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a quote from Jack What's-His-Face, head of Twitter.
Jack Dorsey.
Jack
Dorsey, yeah, from the quiz.
Don't you remember from the quiz?
Yeah. Of course. And he's tweeted, of course, our intention is to connect the dots of conflicting statements and show the information in dispute so people can judge for themselves.
Yeah.
More transparency from us is critical so folks can clearly see the why behind our actions.
The why behind our actions.
Yeah, very nice. Which is interesting. So he's basically saying we're just providing you with the information and then you can decide for yourself what's going on in terms of whether something can be deemed credible or not. I think the issue comes when you realise that in doing so, you're automatically your biases are automatically going to come through, right?
Yeah.
Whoever decides that, automatically you're deciding what you believe to be appropriate or not. We found this with YouTube, didn't we? There were certain videos that were demonetized, especially in the old conspiracies days. And we believe that our take on it, or the way that we framed it, wasn't at all damaging. It wasn't spreading misinformation. But the manual review from an actual person at YouTube who reviewed the video had a different opinion.
Yeah.
And so their editorial was conflicting with ours. So, I mean, there isn't too much difference there, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess if you start doing what they're doing with this kind of fact-checking tweets, then they are putting the responsibility on themselves of providing that information to people, and then who's there to check what the information they're providing is actually accurate, or the right information. That would then give them a huge amount of unregulated power, I guess, over our information that we consume. So yeah, I guess that's a very good point.
We're going to look at the European Union, the way that they handle this kind of stuff, because they have just introduced a law. What was it, last year? Was it Article 13, if you remember that? The whole copyright thing. And what that does is it puts the onus, the responsibility, fully on private companies to regulate what content goes up on their sites. And so in this case, it's to do with copyright. It's not to do with freedom of speech and to do with opinions and fact. It's to do with, if copyrighted content is put on their site, it is a private company's duty to check that it is not infringing copyright. So what they're saying is, before, they're only compelled to examine these cases if it was pointed out to them. So if somebody made a complaint or somebody made a claim for that copyrighted content. Whereas now they're saying those private companies have to do it themselves. And I think that's an interesting kind of middle ground, where it's saying an authority, a government, in this case the European Union, has said, we are compelling you by law to regulate this stuff yourself. So copyright is slightly different because it is a law that exists, whereas freedom of speech, you can't really... There's nothing banning lies. There's nothing that bans falsehoods. That's the whole point of freedom of speech, isn't it?
Apart from hate speech and stuff.
Yeah, that kind of specific examples like that, whereas copyright just applies to anything with where somebody has a legal claim to it, But I think, what do you think about that as a possible middle ground, where the government says it is your duty as a private company to regulate this stuff? We compel you to regulate it, but ultimately you are regulating it, so you have the freedom to regulate in your own way.
I mean, that seems like the current problem, I guess, with, or like what people are complaining about against Twitter, is that who is, if this is more about freedom of speech as opposed to copyright, or like what people are saying, then how do we verify that if we allow Twitter to regulate that themselves, how do we verify that what they're saying is accurate? But then the flip side is, well, if we have the government regulate it for them, how do we know that the government isn't going to censor everything that it doesn't want people to know?
We've got the two extremes represented by China, the Republic of China, and the EU.
You know what could be used, and that's in YouTube when someone makes a copyright claim against you, you can counter that claim providing evidence of why you believe that your particular piece of content didn't break that copyright law, is your own work or whatever, right? Yeah. Maybe there's something similar to Twitter where, okay, they don't publicly shame you, they don't put a notice up, but they say, okay, you have 24 hours, sounds very Mission Impossible here, you have 24 hours to write a short little reply as to why you believe, or can give a bit of evidence as to why what you're saying isn't in doubt, basically, is true and legitimate. And if you post that and it's fine, then the post stays up. And if you don't post anything or post something that doesn't cut the mustard, then it gets taken down. Maybe there's a little bit of leeway, but you have to kind of justify.
I like that. I think that's a good system. Yeah, I think maybe there should be something saying that this, like a little notice on the tweet itself, just so it can't stay up for 24 hours and not be contested visibly.
But at the same time, you're suggesting that what they're saying is, by doing that, and why Trump's annoyed is that you're suggesting that what he's saying is false.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying this is up for debate. Because as soon as you say something's up for debate, you're basically saying it's false, right? There's not much of a line there.
Yeah, but this is where I like what they did, though, because then they provide a fact-checking link. So
they did.
That's a good way around it, because it completely opens up, it invites you to make up your own mind. It's saying this tweet contradicts this fact as reported. Make up your own mind. Whereas I think it's actually more dangerous if you have a little notice like Alex suggested, where it just says this is under dispute, because then it suggests they have spread fake news and they might ultimately be exonerated, but for that 24-hour duration, which is frankly the lifespan of any tweet.
True. That's a good point.
Whereas having that fact-checking link gives people more opportunity to actually educate themselves as well.
Maybe the fact-checking link stays up, but then they can dispute it to get that taken away.
Yeah, I think some kind of challenge system sounds decent, because they're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, logistically it'd be tough, but
you're going to have to hire thousands of staff just to do that.
So I think part of Trump's complaint was that the sources that it cited was CNN and Washington Post, who obviously Trump doesn't like either of those outlets. So maybe I like that idea of it fact checking it, but maybe if they posted, like, if it's in reference to a particular study or something that an expert has said, maybe it sources them directly as opposed to just like a commercial news outlet. Maybe
I can understand that if he's had public disagreements with those news organizations, of course, like that's not really the way to go, is it, in terms of trying to discredit what he's saying?
No, except in this case, the issue is on Trump's side only. Like, those, he doesn't like them because they call him out on his lies all the time. That's just another form of censorship. That's him. That goes back to the issue of Trump trying to control what people think, trying to control what people say. And ultimately the Republican Party's desire to win an election by controlling people. I agree. You get around that. Twitter can get around that by posting links to the actual original studies rather than to reports on the studies.
So basically, we're in this kind of huge struggle between overly endorsing government regulation and ending up with like Chinese censorship of their internet and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
With the struggle of companies not actually being able to self-regulate, or not wanting to, or having no incentive to. Is that kind of But in terms of their response then to Trump's tweets, I think it sounds like we're actually on the page of they kind of did the right thing. I mean, it would have been better if they sourced the actual evidence as opposed to news outlets, but they're kind of doing along the right lines of what they should be doing.
Yeah, I like what they did. I think they've completely taken the right approach. They just need to, work out the nuance a little bit.
Yeah. Do you agree, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you're casting into doubt the legitimacy of the person who has the power to make executive orders against you, it's always going to be a harder sell. I mean, I imagine that if this was if they put this dispute against someone else, it wouldn't be anywhere near the story it is. It's because it's against the president, right? And so this will be a tough one for them, a tough moment for them. But I imagine that in 90% of occasions, the majority of people will agree.
Yeah.
And probably in the majority of occasions too, President Trump himself would agree if he saw people's tweets and would approve of what Twitter are doing. It just so happens that in this case, it's against something that he says. And so with the way that he is, he's most likely going to be fighting back. But yeah, it seems like they're making the right moves, as you say, Robin. Nuance it and maybe give a little bit more opportunity for people to have their say as users of the platform, and will be very much on the right track.
Well, shall we cheer ourselves up with a quiz?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Nice.
Yeah. Welcome to the quiz, and as always there are 10 questions and a bonus question if there's a tie, or just for fun anyway, why not? I think the league tables are pretty tight at the moment. It's neck and neck between Alex and Martin. Is it not?
Yeah, are we drawing at the moment? Are we on equal? Oh,
is that right? Oh. Okay, this is getting serious.
This is a fight for third place, guys. So
thanks, Robin.
You're welcome. So, play me your buzzers, Martin.
I've gone for something gaming related. It's a classic.
Oh, it's Mario.
Super Mario.
Yeah. And Alex?
I have not gone for something gaming related. It's the classic Channel 4 TV show Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
You and he were buddies, weren't you? What?
That was Matt Berry with his incredible voice.
Incredible voice, yeah. You and he were buddies, weren't you?
Weren't you?
But if you and he wish to be buddies again.
I won't stand in your way.
All right, then. So, question number 1, fingers on buzzers. What is the highest grossing film of all time worldwide, not adjusted for inflation?
Oh, my volume was turned down. Okay.
Not suggestive.
But now I actually have a think about it. Okay. I've changed it slightly.
Just hearing Chris Burkle there.
Yeah. I'm going to go for Avengers Infinity War.
It is not.
Oh, yeah, because I thought they'd overtaken
You and he were buddies, weren't you?
Is it Avatar?
It is not Avatar. Avatar is the second highest grossing film of all time.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Yes, man.
I'm gonna stick with the old Marvel, but I'm gonna go for Captain America: Civil War.
No, that grossed 1.3 billion, I think.
I did it. Okay.
1.4.
You and he were buddies, weren't you?
Yes, Alex.
I'm sticking with this, with Martin's approach. Was it Endgame?
It was Avengers Endgame. I'm sorry, Martin.
So I thought that
part 2 to your part 1. Yeah.
I thought about saying that, but then I was like, I thought the other ones just grossed a bit more than it.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Why would more people go and see the second one than the first one?
Yeah, it would make sense.
Usually there's a bit of decrease, but yeah, I mean, they're doing well.
It's that perfect timing. They had a really strong opener with a cliffhanger, and everyone saw it in cinema. Everyone saw it in social media. So social media, home media. So everyone goes to see it in the cinema. The sequel. Okay, so 1-0 to Alex. Oh, that was very close. Question 2 is a classic closest wins. So.
Oh, my favourite. Actually, my favourite is multiple choice. That's the best.
Well, there might be a multiple choice in this quiz too.
Oh.
So, closest wins. How many decibels was the loudest sound that NASA ever recorded?
That NASA ever recorded in decibels.
What was the loudest sound in decibels? Closest wins.
So I'm trying to think of what's a high amount.
Yeah, I have no frame of reference, really.
A frame of reference is a conversation with someone else in your living room is about 50 decibels.
Okay.
You and he were.
Do you want to go first?
Buddies, weren't you?
Yes, Alex.
They recorded something 5 million decibels.
That is
okay, I'm going to go
a number.
I'm going to go slightly lower. I'm going to go for closest wins, yeah?
I did say that, yes.
4 million decibels. Isn't it like a couple of hundred? Like 500 or something?
Well, Martin was closer, and so he gets the point. The answer is 204 decibels.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I was going to guess 500. That would be.
I thought it was going to be like, a collapsing neutron star, or whatever.
Oh, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
And it makes like some super loud. Yeah, because you specified NASA.
I did, yeah.
So I was thinking that was going to be
that sound doesn't travel through space,
Well, I didn't know how they would pick it up necessarily. I'm not saying that they listen to it on headphones, but like how there's. I mean, they can hear Saturn, so I figured why not miles away. I know we've had things pass by Saturn.
Radio, yeah. Well, it was actually the sound of the Saturn V or Saturn V rocket.
Oh, okay.
First stage taking off. Yeah.
200.
250. Okay.
204.
I was a little bit off. A little bit off there.
A little off. But so 1-1 going into question 3. This is going to test your literary knowledge. The sinking of the ship Essex by a sperm whale in 1820 inspired which novel?
You and he were. Buddies, weren't you?
That was Alex, I heard first.
Moby Dick.
It was Moby Dick.
I was going to go for that.
The only book I know about a whale.
I think it's the only book anyone knows about a whale.
What about Free Willy 4? Novel.
the novelization of the movie.
Yeah. All right.
That was my second guess.
2-1 to Alex. Question number 4 is multiple choice.
Okay.
Right. Can you tell me who said, "Love the life you live, live the life you love"? Was it A, Bob Marley, B, Nelson Mandela, or C, Maya Angelou?
You and he were. Buddies, weren't you? What?
I heard Alex.
Was it Maya Angelou?
Martin, do you want to have a guess?
Okay, so Maya Angelou. Oh, screw it, let's just go for Nelson Mandela.
You are both wrong. It was Bob Marley.
Oh, no.
I thought Bob Marley would be too cool for that.
Yeah.
Cheesy reggae classic gold.
Yeah.
He was great. I love Bob Marley.
Well,
okay, question number 5. 2-1 to Alex, I think. How many species of elephant are there?
You and he were. Buddies, weren't you?
Yes, Alex.
2.
No. Martin?
I thought 2 as well. So I'm going to go for 4.
No. Can I give you a clue?
Yeah, we can have a clue. I'd love a clue.
I mean, the clue is you're both very close.
You and he were. Buddies, weren't you?
Oh, I got Alex first.
Is it 3?
It is 3.
Do we get a bonus point for naming them?
Oh yeah, go ahead if you want to name them.
African, Indian, Asian.
I think Asian is the Indian one. So.
Oh, is it?
African.
There's 2 types of African actually.
Oh.
That's the catch.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
I can't name them.
So it's African bush, African forest, and Asian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I always used to think Indian and African But apparently the Indian one is an Asian because it's not just in India. I'll give you a bonus point, Martin. You got African and Asian.
What? Hang on. No, wait. Whoa. Hang on. You're adding a new rule into this now. Quizzes have bonus questions.
Yes, if there's a bonus point. And he wasn't wrong.
And he didn't get it. He didn't get the 3. Why are you awarding him a bonus point?
All right.
I don't deserve a point. So
it's
give him half a point if you really have to, just so I don't look too bitter. Because I feel like I came on very hard against that bonus point.
3-1 to Alex. Going into question 6. Right, fingers on buzzers, guys. True or false? 50-50. The most popular babies' names in 2019 in the UK were Oliver and Olivia. Yes, Martin.
True.
It is true.
Oh.
Sound disappointed.
I was going to go for false, in fairness, so... Oh. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
The thing, if you get that wrong, you automatically give the answer, you give the point away.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's a risk.
Whereas with multiple choice, there's a chance that you may still be right if I give the other person a guess.
Yeah, or like me, also wrong.
Yes, that's true. So 3-2 to Alex, going into question 7.
Okay.
Who was the youngest person to be elected President of the United States?
You and he were buddies, weren't you?
Oh, I heard Matt Berry's luscious voice first.
Was it JFK?
It was JFK.
Yes.
Well done.
It's bloody buzzer.
4-2. Oh, sorry, Martin. Do you want
to change buzzer?
No, it's nothing to do with the buzzer. It's me not pushing it in time. I should just do it anyway.
Yeah, Alex is always quick on the buzzer. He's so fast.
Yeah, I think he does it and then thinks about the question.
For a bonus point, you could tell me who was the youngest person to become president.
Wasn't that not the question?
That was the
JFK
question.
was the youngest person to be elected president.
Oh, to become president.
Mm.
Who would it have been? Oh, what about Ford?
Nope, not Ford. But you're on exactly the right lines of how they became president.
Yeah.
Well, it was, I'll tell you, Theodore Roosevelt. JFK was 43 and Roosevelt was 42 when he took over from his predecessor who died in office.
Oh.
Okay.
So, question number 8. This is a sporting question, but also a history question. So hopefully everyone will be satisfied. Uruguay won the first ever Football World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
But in what year? Martin?
Okay. I take it this isn't closest wins.
This is not closest wins.
So Martin hounded me for buzzing and then thinking about the answer.
He did, yeah, he just did exactly what he accused you of.
Yep, 100%. I wasn't accusing you, I was just saying that's what you do.
I think he should be fact-checked and then regulated.
I've got. I think it's 1930. Crap.
1930 crap. Well, you know, that was generally people's impression of the Great Depression.
Trying to think of what year it'd be.
Well, I mean, you should have thought of this before you buzzed.
1932.
Okay, Alex, do you want to venture a guess?
Is it closest wins?
I mean, it's not, but it could be.
Oh, okay.
Depends what you say.
You were buddies, weren't you?
Yes.
1938.
38?
38.
I'm afraid Martin gets it. It's 1930.
Oh, okay.
Just on the cusp. Okay. So you're completely there with the right decade, Martin.
I was early. I was trying to think about in terms of, because it's played every 2 years, which I knew was early 30s.
Yeah, if you had some amazing mathmo brain, you could definitely work it out.
What I was trying to do is go back in increments of 4 years from World Cups I definitely know happened in that year, but I just couldn't do the maths quick enough.
Yeah, I mean, you deserve the point. I wouldn't even know where to hazard a guess. 1753.
No,
I'm just.
They didn't even have regulated rules there, did they? Standardised rules, I mean. So, question 9, and I think it's 4 all, right?
4-3, I think. To you.
4-3.
Yeah.
Of course,
so.
yeah, because you already got
Maybe.
Bob Marley.
I'm actually
So,
not sure.
4-3 to Alex, going into question 9. It's a geography question. In the UK, what is the longest river?
You and he were buddies.
Ooh, yes, Martin.
The Severn.
It is.
Oh, nice.
It is the River Severn.
Damn it. Oh, so it's
Bonus point
4.
if you tell me how long it is. And the river.
Very good.
Thank you.
No idea.
It's 220 miles long.
Okay.
Or 354 kilometres. So it is now
long river.
actually 4 all.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness, this is tense.
This is
Question
tense.
10. Question 10. Which food spread takes its brand name from a type of French crockery?
Type of what?
French crockery.
You and he were buddies, weren't you?
Yes, Alex?
Skippy.
No. What's Skippy?
Food spread. You know,
What?
peanut butter. Is that what you mean?
French
I've
crockery.
never heard of
Skip it.
Well, I didn't think it was the other thing.
Well, I mean, good guess,
And what
but no.
about-
Okay.
Correct, incorrect. Yeah.
Food spread.
Yes, Martin?
Bovril.
No.
You hound me for
so.
Skippy and then you go to Bovril.
Well, at least it sounds vaguely French.
Bovril.
It
That
could be
sounds vaguely French,
yeah.
right?
Okay, I'll give you a clue. And this is a fingers on buzzers clue. So, are you paying attention?
Yes.
You'll either love it or hate it.
You and he were.
I think that was Martin.
Yeah, I think it was. Damn it.
Marmite.
It is Marmite. Oh. I'm so sorry, Alex. So that's why, if you look at the picture on the label, it's actually a Marmite dish. A little
It is,
pot,
isn't it?
and that's what they used to serve it in. Used to sell it in, sorry.
I see.
Good, good
Switch to glass jars.
little tidbit. Good bit of information.
Oh,
Interesting.
Good knowledge.
I feel sorry. I feel sorry.
No, don't be. No, Martin deserved
you know,
that. That was fine.
He did. He
Yeah.
won, so he deserved it. But you know,
Yeah.
it's tight.
Came back.
The results never fully express how close it was, do they? But Martin went from a 3-1 down to a 5-4 win. That was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm pleased with that. Happy with that.
you should be.
That'll
yeah.
do, pig.
Like my
That'll
best
do.
games of Rocket League. But
Yeah, the comebacks in video games, especially online, always the best.
always the best. Yeah.
A last-minute winner in a game of football online. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm back where I belong, in third place. So hope you're happy, guys. I get it. That's cool.
We'll see. Do you want a bonus question?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Bonus question is definitely a fingers on buzzers one. So I hope you're ready.
No, I'm not actually. I'm my phone away. Okay, I'm ready.
How many stars are there on the flag of the USA?
You and he were buddies, weren't you?
50?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes,
there are indeed.
correctamonte.
It's okay. Cool. So does that mean that
Hollow.
we need another extra question? Are we level now? How this works?
Oh, I
What-
suppose
what do we do?
technically, yeah. Martin, sorry, you haven't won, really. Alex has got the...
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the way it's worked for the last 16 episodes, plus however many before. 50 was it?
Yeah.
We got
Something
over 50,
like that.
didn't we? Because we did over a year of stories from the bunker, didn't we?
Yeah, true.
A lot of
So, over
episodes.
Good point.
52. But yeah, well done, Martin. Well deserved win. That was tight. That was a
Oh,
great
thank you,
comeback.
Thank you.
And
Good, yeah, no,
Good
good,
job,
good.
Martin.
I'll be shaking your hand right now if you were there, Alex.
There you go.
If you were here.
Are
or I
you
was
shaking
there.
your screen?
Good game.
I'm shaking
good
my
game.
screen.
you are
I'm shaking my own hand,
worthy.
which is the sign language for friends.
Aw.
There you go.
Oh.
We're friends.
So there we go.
Yay.
You
We
don't
are.
get a bonus point for that.
No.
Shall I do a complete sign language round, and just do a video?
I mean, since we can't actually see each other at the
yeah,
moment,
we'd
that would
struggle
be
with that one.
Video, do a
heavily
video.
problematic.
Do a video, or I could pre-record it and just
Oh,
play
I
it,
see. Yeah.
and say you can play your videos.
You can share your screen
Now.
on the... Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
Or
that'd be
share the screen.
great for our listeners.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They'd have to watch. They have to watch it.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we
Nice.
go.
Well, thank you for the quiz, Robin.
Thank you for playing.
lovely.
That was great. And thanks for another thought-provoking discussion. And please, at home, if you're listening to us on the platform that allows you to send us your comments, send us your comments and your thoughts on the topic this week, and of course your quiz scores. That's very important. Or you can tweet us at jinterestingyt, or I'm at alltimerobin.
I'm at Mart Interesting.
And I'm at Just Alexing.
Which is the best handle ever.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's good. It's good. Well, someone, Kat from Discord, was the one who actually gave me that username. So thank you, Kat.
Yeah,
I love
it's a
it.
great one.
I love
it's
it.
what you
It
do
makes no
every
sense,
day.
but I love it.
You're just Alex.
Just Alexing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right then. Well, stay safe, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.